Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jacqui and today we're working on tight hips and flexibility through this area. If you spend a lot of your day sitting, then this is going to be really beneficial for you to help you lengthen everything back out. All you need is your mat, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's start on all fours today. So let's come onto our hands and knees. Knees are underneath the hips and wrists underneath the shoulders. And we're just going to start by making these circles with our body. Just gently opening up and loosening up through the hip area. And then let's swap sides, making your circles the other way. And you can make these as big or as small as you'd like. And then let's come back to the center and we'll shift the hips forwards and backwards. And when you come forward, just make sure that you're tucking your pelvis and not arching your spine. So you're dumping into your lower back. So we're engaging the core as it comes forward. And it should be a nice stretch on the front of your hips as well, where your hip flexors are. Alright, last one. Come back to neutral spine. We'll tuck the toes under and lift the hips up, coming into downward facing dog. So maybe just pedal out your feet here. Maybe drop your hips from side to side. And then let's take the right leg and bend it up behind us. And we're just going to draw big circles with the knee. See how big you can make this circle. And then the other way. Your left leg can be slightly bent. It doesn't have to be straight. And then let's drop the right foot down and we'll do the other side. Bend the left leg, draw big circles with your knee. Try also to keep pressing into your hands so that you haven't sunk into your shoulders. And make the circles the other way. Last one. Bring the foot back down. And then we'll step the right foot onto the outside of the right hand. We'll lower the left knee, untuck the toes. And again, we're just going to make some circles with the hips. I really like bringing movement into these static poses because it's a really nice and gentle way to open up. Let's change direction. And then just heel toe your right foot back into the center of the mat and we'll come up to a lunge. So you can bring your hands either to your thighs or to your hips, and we'll just find this pelvic position. So we want a posterior pelvic tilt, so that means we tuck under, and you'll notice that there's much more of a stretch on the left hip flexor when you do that. So keep this position. Maybe your hands stay on your hips, maybe they come to your right thigh. And then if you're feeling comfortable there, you want to come further, just bring your weight further towards the front leg, but keeping that posterior pelvic tilt, so that tuck under, that scooping under. That helps us also to lengthen through the back of the spine, and so we're not putting all this weight into our lower back. So staying here for just one more breath. And then let's bring the left hand down and we'll walk the right foot out to the side a little bit more. Right hand can stay on the right knee or maybe the right elbow. And then sink your hips down a little bit more. Option also to bring both hands on the inside of that right leg or even come down to your forearms. Whichever is the most comfortable for you. Staying here for another couple of breaths. Nice deep breaths. And try not to let it get stuck in your chest or become very short. Try to let the breath come all the way into your belly and then let it be controlled on the way out. On the next breath, let's come back up onto the hands if you're on your elbows. Place the right hand on the outside of the right foot, walk it back to the center, tuck the left toes, and we'll come back to downward facing dog. Just take a moment here. Maybe you want to stay in stillness, or maybe you want to pedal out the feet. Just notice how your hips are feeling on each side. Maybe they're feeling super imbalanced. But we're going to fix that right now. So let's bring the left foot forward on the outside of the left hand. Drop the right knee, untuck the toes, and then make circles with the hips. Again, you can make this as big or as small as you'd like. And then the other way. Just nice and gentle. And then placing the left hand towards the outside again, heel toe the left foot back into the center, and then shift your weight back over that right knee. Hands come to your waist or onto your left thigh. Find that posterior pelvic tilt. So tuck the pelvis under, lengthen through the front side of the hips. So really getting deep into the right hip flexor here. And if you're comfortable there, maybe you shift your weight forward, always keeping that same pelvic position. You might need to also shuffle your left foot forward a little bit if you're coming forward. And staying here for a couple more breaths. Try to let the rest of your body be nice and loose, especially in the shoulders. And then let's bring the right hand down underneath the right shoulder. You might be able to sink your hips down a little bit further. Left elbow can stay on the left knee, or it can come on the inside. Maybe you walk that left foot out just a little bit to make space. Maybe you even come down onto your elbows. And the side could also be very different to the first side. You could feel a lot more flexible here or a lot more tight. Just know that our bodies are not made symmetrical, so it's perfectly normal, even if there is a vast difference between each side. So one more breath here. And if you're on your elbows, let's come back up onto our hands. Take the left hand back on the outside, walk the left foot in, tuck the right toes. Let's come back to downward facing dog. And just take a moment here again in stillness, or pedal your feet. Drop your hips from side to side, whatever you feel you need to do. Notice now the difference between both legs. How do they feel? And on the next breath, bend your knees, and then let's walk the hands towards the feet. Try to get your belly to your thighs. We'll just hang here in a ragdoll for a moment. So hold on to opposite elbows. Maybe you stay here in stillness, or maybe you take a gentle sway from side to side. whichever variation you're doing, really try to let your upper body be completely relaxed and loose. You might like to nod your head yes, shake your head no, just check your neck is nice and loose. And then release the arms, and we'll slowly make our way to standing. And then we'll come to the center of the mat, legs wide. Toes are pointing to the top corners of your mat, heels are turned inwards. We'll come into our goddess pose. So just bend down through the legs. You might need to widen your stance, or maybe bring it closer if you put it too wide. Hands can stay on your thighs, and just make sure that your knees are in line with your toes. So if they've dropped into the center, press them back out, or you can also turn your toes in a little bit more. And likewise with your shoulders, if I turn to the side, if you find that they're coming forward, see if you can really press them back so they are in line with your hips. They're stacked on top of your hips, and you'll need to really engage your core to hold yourself there. So coming back into our goddess squat. Maybe you take a bit more weight into your hands, and maybe you do a little twist with the upper body. This always feels really good on the upper spine as well. And I find it also helps me to open up through the hips a little bit more. Keep pressing the knees back. And coming back to center. You also might like to kind of sway from side to side, shifting the weight between one leg and then the other. One more breath here. And on the next breath, let's stand back up. Press the heels out, so now your feet are parallel with the short side of the mat. Let's reach the arms up high. Deep breath in. Breathing out. Start to fold forward from your hips so your back stays nice and long. And then hands can come down to the mat if they reach, or maybe to your thighs or even to your shins. Try to pull up the muscles above the kneecaps without locking your knees back behind you, especially if you have hyperextended knees. You want to use the muscles to pull out of your joints. And then try to press the outside edge of both feet firmly into the mat. And also try to lengthen your spine. So you can micro bend the knees and think about pointing your sit bones towards the back of the mat. That always helps me to have that visualization to lengthen through the spine. We'll hold here for another couple of breaths. And on the next breath, let's lift up halfway. And just heel toe the feet in just a little bit wider than your hips. Toes are pointing to the top of the mat, and we'll come into Malasana, or our Yogi Squat. It doesn't matter if your heels are lifted off the mat and your hands are down on the mat to support you, or you have your heels down. You can sit all the way back and place your hands at your heart. So just take a moment here. Again, you might like to take a bit of movement and move from side to side. Try to keep your back up straight as well, so we're not in this hunched up and rounded position. So roll the shoulders back, lengthen through the spine. And on the next breath, let's extend the arms in front of us and see if you can sit your bum down without using your hands. So just sitting down, and we'll extend the legs out to the sides, coming into our straddle. So it doesn't matter how wide or how narrow your V is. Just come to a point where you can still feel your back is nice and long. So if you place your hands onto your lower back, you can feel if you've rounded down. See if you can really press that forward. It's almost a feeling of arching your spine, especially if you're very rounded. It will feel like you're arching your spine. So we're sitting right on top of the sit bones. Flex through both feet. And then again, pull the muscles up above both knees and press the backs of the knees into the mat. Fingertips come forward. And we can either stay here or walk yourself forward if you're feeling nice and open. We'll stay here for a few breaths. Keep activated through both legs. This is a really great stretch for the inner thighs as well as the hips. Deep breaths here now. Nice and slow exhales. One more breath. Deep inhale into the belly. Long, slow exhale through the nose or mouth. All right, on the next breath, hands on the mat, slowly walk yourself back. Use your hands underneath both knees just to bring them in. And we'll just take a moment, hugging the knees into the chest. Notice the blood rushing back into your legs and your hips. And then let's make our way onto our knees. So we're going to come into frog pose. So full disclaimer, not my favorite pose, but we have a saying in yoga where the pose that you avoid the most is probably the pose that you should do the most of, because when we do the poses that we're familiar with and we're comfortable with, they're probably the poses that are quite easy for us. So we need to do the ones that we avoid because they're probably very uncomfortable for us. So frog pose, let's come onto our hands and knees, and we're going to walk the knees wide and flex both feet. And you might like to add some extra padding under your knees. So you could bring a cushion, or a simple way also is to just roll up your mat. So however many times you like. So I'm going to place that under this knee and just check how far I need on the other side. So I'll do the same on this side. Rolling up the mat, placing the knee on there. All right, so we're flexing in both feet. And the knees are about a 90-degree angle. And then also check that your hips are not too far forward or too far back. They should be in line with both knees. So all right, this is definitely very intense. So just take it easy. It's a really great stretch for the inner groin. And it's not a pose that we do very often. You can probably see why. It's very intense and not so comfortable. So while you're here, stay lifted in your core. Don't allow yourself to sink down and dump into your lower back. So we're still lifting up through the core. If you feel comfortable, you can also drop your elbows down to the mat. Okay, a few more deep breaths here. Try to stay with it. Deep inhales, slow exhales. Let's do 2 more breaths here. Last breath, try to stay with it. And also try to relax as much as you can. Alright, if you're on your elbows, slowly make your way back up. And then I like to shift my weight forward just a little bit so that I can bring my feet in, lift my hips up, and then bring the knees together. You can roll your mat back out. Oh, okay, just stay here for a moment. Let the blood rush back in. Let that sensation, feel all the sensations. All right, let's sit back down on our bum. Place the hands behind you, feet out wide, and we'll take windshield wipers. So drop the knees over to one side and then to the other side. Nice and slow. You might still be feeling a lot of sensation in the area that we just stretched right now. And that's okay. All right, let's come into a deer pose. So facing back to the top of the mat, I'm going to bring my right leg in front so that the shin is parallel with the top of the mat, foot flexed, and then same with the left leg. I'm just going to bend it behind me so I have this internal rotation of the hip going. So you can either stay like this, maybe you feel a lot already in this left hip, otherwise we will take the hands forward and then lay your body over that front leg. So it's kind of like a modified pigeon pose as well. So again, try to find the most comfortable position for you and focus on your breath. One last breath here. Alright, if you're on your elbows, slowly make your way back up onto your hands. Very gently, let's just uncross that leg, bring it back in front. Give yourself a nice big hug and just stay here for a moment. Nice deep breath still. And then let's come to the other side. So we'll bring the left leg out in front, parallel with the short side of the mat, foot flexed, right leg out to the side, finding that internal rotation of the hip. Staying up high here or walking the hands forward, maybe coming down onto the elbows. Staying here for a few breaths. If you notice you're gripping anywhere or clenching, see if you can let it go with every exhale that you take. Last breath. Alright, slowly make your way back up onto your hands if you're on your elbows. Let's bring that right leg forward. Again, just bring the knees together into your chest. Hug them close to your chest. Take a moment here. And then let's finish on our backs. So come all the way down, lying down on your back. Bring the feet wide to the outside edges of your mat and then just drop the knees in towards the center. Arms come to either side. Let's close the eyes and see if you can find complete relaxation through your body. This is again a nice gentle internal rotation of the hips. when we think about doing hip openers, we often have this external rotation, but it's really important to counterbalance that the other way so that we can have the most healthy hip joint that we can have. If you have your eyes closed, let's slowly just blink open the eyes. Lift the knees back up, heel toe the feet back in line with your hips. Roll over to one side. Just stay here for a moment. Knees together, curled into your chest. Arms supporting your head. And then slowly make your way back up to a seated position. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope your hips are feeling really nice and loose. Please leave me a comment below to let me know how you're feeling. I would love to know. And if you liked today's video, please give it a thumbs up. And you can support me by subscribing so I can continue to give more free yoga videos like this to all of you. And don't forget to hit the bell icon also so you don't miss out on any new videos. I will see you next time on the mat. Namaste.